Okay, at the example 3, we have the denominator that is x power 4 plus x squared. So this one is basically you can factor into x squared, multiply with x squared plus 1. Okay, at this case, actually you have things that is actually repeated factors and irreducible quadratic. Why we say that you have irreducible quadratic? Because this one, the x plus x squared plus 1 is basically you cannot factor anymore. This one you cannot factor anymore. This is irreducible. But for repeated factors, it's actually refer to the x. The x is actually repeated 2 times. Okay, so x squared you can think of as the x multiplied with x. Okay, from here, basically you can actually know that you will have the partial fraction. First is actually x, because this is actually okay, from here, let me rewrite it. Okay, so in here you know that actually you will have the first one, and then you will have the plus with the second one, because it's actually the x is actually repeating. Is x squared is actually the product of x multiplied with x. Is the x has repeated for 2 times. Okay, so then followed by this one is actually another fractions. All right. Okay, so therefore we have things like this at here. Okay, so for the right hand side, we will have this equation. Okay, and then this is actually coming from this concept. And then let's just look at this one. So the first fractions, the thing that we should put at the top should be a constant, because this is x power 1. And this at the top, we also put as constant. We do not consider this one as quadratic, but we consider it as linear. That linear is actually repeated. Okay, so this is actually consider this one as linear, but this is actually repeat for second time. Okay, so therefore at the top we put this one as the constant. So we put this one as a constant. For the third item, what we have here is x squared plus 1. The x squared plus 1, you cannot factor this. So when you cannot factor this quadratic, so at the top, you only can put linear equation. This is x squared. Therefore, at the top, you put x power 1. So this is x power 2, this is x power 1. So we have linear. So therefore, okay, we have cx plus d at the top. Okay, let me erase this all. Right, okay, the next thing that you should do is you should multiply both sides with the denominator. So this is your denominator, and you have to multiply both sided with this denominator. Okay, let's just see what happens if we multiply. So this is the result of multiplication. How we get that? Okay, so you look at this one. So for this left hand side, you actually can cancel out this. So you're remaining of 1 minus 5x. And for the right hand side, Okay, for the right hand side, we can cancel out this one, and this is power of 1, and then the thing that remains is a and x squared plus 1, so therefore we have this. And then go for the second fractions that we see here. And we're going to repeat the process all over again. So then repeat it again. So multiply. So when you multiply this with the denominator, so you can cancel. The thing that remains is actually b and x squared plus 1. So that's why we have this. And lastly, we have this cancel with this. The thing that remains is actually cx plus d with x squared. So we have this as a result. So we have a new line of equations. So after we have the new equations, then we're going to solve it. Right, okay, so how to solve it? You have to compare left hand side and right hand side. But how to compare the left hand side and right hand side? So if you look at the left hand side, you have x power 1. But how about the right hand side? The right hand side is actually you have, if you expand this one, you have x power of 3. So we should begin with the highest degree of the x. Okay, so the highest degree of the x is actually x power of 3. So begin to compare with x power of 3. Okay, for the left hand side, we do not have x power of 3. Then we have 0. So it means that for the left hand side, you have 0 for x power of 3. How about for the right hand side? So for the right hand side, why we have a plus b? A plus c. So let's just see what happens if we expand this. Just check for x power of 3 only. Ignore the others. Ignore the others. Okay, so if I expand this one, you have a x power of 3. So therefore, you have a. Ignore this one. This one won't give you x power of 3. Ignore this one also. Ignore this one also. And go for here. So you expand this one. So you have x power of 3, right? So therefore, you have a c here. So you have a plus c. So ignore this one because this one is give you x power of 2 only. We only focus on x power of 3. Now, okay, of course, for this one, you can write it again. So this is actually c equal to minus a. So we name it as equation number 1. So we go for the second things that we can look for, that is x squared. So of course, same thing for the left hand side, we do not have x squared. We do not have x squared. So therefore, you have a 0 at the left hand side. How about the right hand side? So for the right hand side, we look at the equation at the right hand side of this equation, and just go for those x squared, right? Okay, so ignore this one. This is not x squared. Ignore this one. This is not x squared. But for this one, yes, when you expand it, you have bx squared. So just take the b. Okay, you don't have to write the x squared. Just write the b. So he be here, and ignore this one. Okay, this one also ignore. And then you have this one only. So you expand it, you have dx squared. So dx squared, we just take the d only. We just focus those will give you the result is x squared. Okay, and then simplify it, you have d equal to minus b. Now let's just look at the x. Okay, so for the x, so if you look at the left hand side, so what we have here is the x is actually you have minus 5 in front of the x. So therefore, you have minus 5 here. How about the right hand side? Just look for the x, okay? So for the x, we can see that it's here. So if you expand this one, so you have ax. So ignore those are not x, okay? So this one you expand, you have ax. So that's why you have a here. So you have the answer a is actually equal to minus 5. And when you know a is actually equal to -5, don't continue. Just don't continue to compare. Just substitute this a first into this equation. So when you do the substitution, you have a equal to -5. You sub into here, so you have the value of c. So once you have the value of c, of course, we cannot substitute in here anymore. You need another information. So what you have to do is you continue to compare. So continue to compare the constant. So for the constant at the left hand side, you have 1. For the right hand side, okay, just go for the right hand side where we have the b. Okay, we have the constant here is actually b. Right? If you excel, you just have b. So you have b equal to 1. So 1, you know the b actually is equal to 1. Do the substitution. Substitute the b equal to 1 into the equation number 2. So sub it here, so you will have your value of for the d. So now you know the value of a, b, c, d. So we recall back what is our partial fractions. So we have the partial fraction is this one. So your value of a is, where is your value of a? Your value of a is -5, and your value of b is 1. Your value of c is 5, and your value of d is -1. So do the substitution. So this is the substitutions, okay, the result of substitution. This is the partial fraction that we have. Okay, now go for the discussion questions. Okay, so I want you to try to decompose the rational function without solving. Okay, so what does it mean by without solving? For example, so we have this equation, this fraction. So it can decompose into this one. Okay, so you have this x squared minus x minus 6 is actually you can factor become x minus 3 and x plus 2. So you have two different factors. So that's why you have two fractions. So these two fractions, you will have, this is actually linear, x power of 1. So at the top you put constant. This is linear. At the top you put constant. And just leave the answer in this way. Okay, because we say without solving. Don't go and find the value of a and b. Just leave it like this. Okay, I will just want you to grab the concept of how to decompose only. Okay, you will come across the topic of solving later. Okay. Okay, so we try on these three questions. Just decompose only. Okay, do not solve it. At least pause this video for a while. You try it by your own. Once you have finished, then you can continue to play the video and check the answer. So these are the answer for the previous discussion questions that I've given to you. Okay. So this is the answer for the discussion questions just now. So you don't have to find the value of a, b, and c. Just leave it this way.